Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm going to try to not make this too awful long for you. This is a subject I've been wanting to touch on for quite some time now, because I see a lot of confusion about it within the pagan community, not only on YouTube, but in person as well. And that is the difference between an animal guide, an animal totem, and a familiar. These are three distinct, separate things that all mean something different and bring something different to your life. And I'm hoping to cover the difference between them and how to use them today. The first one I want to talk about is the familiar. A familiar is an animal who has a personal relationship with you on a spiritual level. It could be a pet, it could be a stray, it could be a friend's pet, any animal that you see and connect with and have an intimate spiritual relationship with on a normal basis. Most of the time this is a pet, but that's not always the case. And this animal was sent to you to help you through that point in your life in some way, shape, or form. Good ways to tell if an animal is a familiar and not just a pet that you've taken a liking to is that if you are doing anything spiritual, and that could be prayer, meditation, spell work, ritual, anything, they want to be right there next to you. They're in your face, knocking over your stuff, talking to you. Anyway, I know my cat is actually sitting right here next to me, and she is my familiar. There's other ways to tell, but I believe that that's something that you have to figure out on your own. I don't think you can go to any type of person and they can tell you, oh, well, this dog is your familiar, and the other 14 that you may have are not. I believe that's something that you have to figure out on your own. And you could do that through meditation or through speaking with your spirit guides, or anything along those lines, divination, things like that. The second one I want to talk about today is the animal totem. Now, a totem is entirely separate from a familiar. It doesn't matter if your familiar is a cat or a mouse or a rat or a dog or whatever it is. That is not your totem. It could be one of your totems, but they are not specifically your totem. And a totem, which is also referred to as a power animal, and those terms are kind of mixed up as well, because a power animal is just one of your totems. It's the one that you connect with the most. It represents you, and you draw strength and power from this animal. For example, mine is a tiger. Now, everyone has, not only do you just have one power animal, but you have 4 others, typically in Native American spirituality. The average person will have 5 totems. And these totems will not just be there, any 5 at any given point in your life, all at the same time. They come in and out of your life as you need them. Your power animal is the only one who typically sticks through it throughout everything. They are always there. And there are different ways to find your power animal. You could see a spiritualist, but I don't personally recommend that, because you never really know these days who's going to be accurate and who's not, who's trying to get money out of you and who's not. I suggest looking within more than anything. And there are quite a few good meditations out there to find your power animal. I will post some of those in the description box below, and hopefully I can help you out with that a little bit. But as for your other 4, these could be animals that you are always drawn to. They could be animals that you see everywhere at any given point. Maybe in the last 6 months you've seen turtles everywhere. You've seen them in the store. You've seen them walking around in your front yard. You've seen them while you're going swimming. You've seen them driving down the road. You've seen them everywhere. That could be turtle trying to tell you something. And if it occurs more than once in your lifetime, that animal is probably a totem for you. And at that given point in your life, you need to research and study the turtle and see what what it is about turtle that you need to bring into your life. And not only are these animals that you've taken a liking to, these can also be animals that you are terrified of. You absolutely hate or are disgusted by or anything like that. And actually, in Native American spirituality, that is more important than the animals that you actually like. Because when you are afraid of an animal, that's when you need to do the research and the study and the work with that animal to find whatever it is about that animal that you're afraid of, and then find something about that animal that you respect or you like, and bring that quality into your life. For example, I'm afraid of spiders. But when working with spider, you can see that they spend so much time building their webs. It takes them forever, and it's a work of art. And then a person or an animal or a storm blows in and wipes all their work out. And they turn around and they do it again. They do it better or the same or whatever they feel like doing. But they persevere through that. And I think that's what I had to learn from Spider, because by nature I'm a very impatient person. As I've already said, I'm an Aries. I'm impulsive. I'm impatient and impulsive, and a little too spontaneous. So that's what I had to learn from Spider. Now the next thing I want to go into is an animal guide, which is completely separate from a familiar, and it's completely separate from an animal totem. An animal guide is the only difference between a guide and a totem is manifestation. An animal totem manifests itself on the spiritual level. Will you stop it? And an animal guide manifests itself on the physical plane. So what I mean by that is that, say you're driving down the road, and you're going on a trip, and along the way you see 4 separate times you see an eagle sitting on a telephone wire down the road. It could look like the same one, it could look like completely different ones, but they're all eagles. That's not something you would normally see. So that would be considered a sign. It's like a form of divination. Now, mundane things don't qualify in this. Like, for example, if I were to see a squirrel run across my front yard, that wouldn't be unusual because my biological factors say that there are squirrels here all the time. You want to look for something that's unusual. For example, if you live in Florida and you were to see a polar bear, that would be something really weird, and you would want to try to figure out what that means. And now, when you are trying to figure out what that sign means, there are a lot of different factors that you need to take into account. There are when you see whatever it is, like say you see a bunch of geese flying in the air, it matters how many geese there are. If you can tell what kind of geese they are. If you can't, then that's fine, just go with what you know. It matters what shape they take on. If they're flying in a V, maybe that wouldn't be so unusual, but maybe if they were flying in a circle, that would be something unusual. What does the circle mean? Study your shapes. How many are there? Say there's 3. Study your numerology, figure out what that means. It matters if they're flying away from you or to you. It matters if they're flying from left to right or right to left. It matters if they're flying to the east, south, west, or north. There are a lot of contributing factors to that, and a lot of it is up to your own interpretation. What do these different factors mean to you? I know that sounds like a lot to consider when making this decision on what it means, and it is. But once you get some practice to it, it's really not as difficult as it sounds. It's just like anything else, like scrying in a bowl of water, or reading tea leaves. It takes a long time to learn how to do it properly, and to learn what each different symbol means to you. And it's going to take some practice. But once you do start doing it, it becomes easier along the way. Remember, there's a great book out that I would recommend on this topic, and that is called Animal Speak, and it's written by Ted Andrews. It's a pretty good-sized read. I mean, it's pretty long. It's not one of those that a lot of people would probably enjoy reading from front to back, because it takes on the format of more of a reference book. I read it from front to back, but I'm a nerd, so we won't get into that. And he goes through, and in the first part of the book, he talks about the things I just talked about, the difference between a guide, a familiar, and a totem. And he tells you how to figure out all three. He teaches you some meditations and some work with each of the animals and things like that. And then in the middle section of it, well, it's more the second half of the book completely. He breaks down the different types of animals, from mammals to reptiles to fish to birds to insects. And he has every possible animal that you could ever possibly see or come across in a meditation or driving down the road or whatever it is. If you can think of it, he's got it in that book somewhere. And if it's not in the book, he will refer you to another animal that has the same meaning as that one. I'm not sure what the price is on it, but you can get it at Amazon. It's one that I would recommend buying. But you can check it out at I guarantee they have it at your local library if they have it at mine. Because, like I said, I'm in a tiny little town in the middle of the Bible Belt. So if my library has it, I can almost guarantee that yours does. And thanks to Charming Pixie Flora, I've just found out that there's actually a pocket guide to Animal Speak. And I've got to get my hands on that sometime soon because I would love to have it. So that's another option for you. But if you've never read the book, I would at least recommend checking out the full copy before you go and then go and buy the pocket guide. That could be a little money saver for you. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that answers some questions that people may have, and hopefully it will help dispel some of that confusion that people have between the three. If you have any opinions on this, feel free to share. Like I always say, this is my opinion. If you've been taught something different and you don't agree with me, that's fine. But this is what I've been taught. And I'd love to hear some of your other opinions, so post a video response or inbox me or anything like that. And I'll see you next time. Blessed be.